Welcome back to the channel The Coin Empire. Today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable and mysterious stories in modern coin collecting history. A story that sounds almost impossible but captures the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters around the world. The legend of the 2003 P5 cent coin that is rumored to be worth an astonishing $109 million because of rare errors, extraordinary minting mistakes, and once-in-a-lifetime possibilities that could transform an ordinary pocket change coin into one of the most valuable modern coins ever discussed. And if you think a simple nickel from 2003 could never reach that kind of value, then stay with me, because what you are about to hear might change the way you look at every coin in your pocket forever. The 2003 P5 cent coin, commonly known as a Jefferson nickel, was minted in Philadelphia, and at first glance it appears completely ordinary, with Thomas Jefferson's familiar portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, produced in the hundreds of millions and circulated widely across the United States. Yet within massive production numbers lies the possibility of rare minting anomalies that can send shockwaves through the numismatic world when discovered. Because in coin collecting it is not age alone that determines value, but rarity, condition, demand, and above all, dramatic mint errors that were never supposed to leave the mint. And when a coin combines multiple rare characteristics at once, the result can be something so unique that collectors and investors compete fiercely for ownership, pushing prices into unimaginable territory. So let us explore how a 2003 P nickel could ever be connected to a $109 million valuation, and what types of errors and extraordinary scenarios would need to exist for such a coin to command that level of attention. First, we must understand that mint errors occur during different stages of the coin production process, including planchet preparation, die creation, die maintenance, striking, and post-strike handling, and any disruption or mistake in these stages can create coins that are drastically different from what the mint intended. For example, an off-metal strike is one of the most dramatic types of mint errors imaginable. This happens when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, or even a different metal composition. Imagine a 2003 P nickel struck on a silver planchet intended for another coin, or even on an experimental alloy never officially released into circulation. Such a coin would instantly become unique and potentially one of a kind, and if documentation or metallurgical analysis confirmed that it was struck on a prototype composition or transitional metal during testing phases, the rarity could skyrocket beyond anything typical collectors expect. Transitional errors are especially valuable when they occur during years of metal experimentation or equipment calibration. And while 2003 was not a major composition change year for nickels, internal mint testing and experimental blanks are not always publicly documented in detail, meaning the possibility of an undiscovered transitional strike cannot be entirely dismissed. Another major error that could elevate the value of a 2003 P5 cent coin into legendary status is a double denomination strike. This occurs when a coin is struck over another coin that was already struck with a different design, creating a dramatic overlapping image. Imagine a 2003 P nickel struck over a dime or quarter, showing fragments of two designs clashing together in a spectacular visual mistake. Collectors prize double denomination errors because they demonstrate a clear breakdown in minting protocol and are usually extremely rare. Now imagine combining that with pristine uncirculated condition graded at the absolute highest level by a major grading service, perhaps even a perfect mint state grade with full strike details and no post-mint damage. Rarity combined with flawless preservation multiplies desirability dramatically. Then consider the possibility of a dramatic multi-strike error where the coin was struck multiple times out of collar, resulting in distorted shapes, off-center impressions, and layered design elements that create a sculptural appearance unlike any standard coin. Coins with multiple bold off-center strikes and clear dates can command enormous premiums, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible, and if the error is so severe yet so well preserved that it becomes a showpiece example of mint malfunction, it can attract international bidding wars among elite collectors. Die errors also open another world of possibility. A double die obverse or reverse occurs when the die itself is improperly hubbed, creating a doubling effect visible on lettering, date, and design features. While minor doubling may add modest value, dramatic Class 1 double dies with strong separation visible to the naked eye can command extraordinary prices. If a previously unknown 2003P double die were discovered with extreme, unmistakable doubling across Jefferson's profile and the inscriptions, and if only one or two examples surfaced before the die was corrected, that rarity could spark massive collector demand. Even more intriguing would be a mule error. One of the rarest and most astonishing mistakes in modern coinage. A mule occurs when two dies that were never meant to be paired together are accidentally used to strike a coin. Imagine a 2003P nickel struck with an obverse intended for a different denomination or even a commemorative design paired with the standard nickel reverse. Such a coin would represent a breakdown at the highest level of mint organization and would likely be considered a once-in-a-generation discovery. Historically, mule coins have achieved 6- and 7-figure sales, so a completely unique mule involving a modern 5-cent coin could theoretically escalate into 8- or even 9-figure territory if the narrative, rarity, and documentation align perfectly. Beyond striking errors, we must consider die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks. While many minor die cracks are common and add little value, massive retained cuds that dramatically alter the coin's appearance can become highly collectible. A huge die break covering a significant portion of the design and leaving the rest sharply struck could create a visually dramatic and unique specimen. And if this occurred early in die life, producing only a handful of coins before the die shattered or was removed from service, rarity would once again play a crucial role. Another scenario involves a wrong planchet error combined with a proof-like strike, though 2003P nickels were business strikes. Occasionally, coins struck from fresh dies exhibit proof-like surfaces with deep mirror fields and frosted devices. If such a coin were struck on the wrong metal blank and retained deep mirror surfaces, the aesthetic impact alone could drive intense competition among advanced collectors. Now let us consider the impact of condition rarity. Even without dramatic errors, a coin graded at an unprecedented level, such as an absolute top population specimen with full steps on Monticello and flawless surfaces, could command extraordinary attention. The full steps designation for Jefferson nickels indicates sharp detail on the steps of Monticello and is highly sought after by specialists. If a 2003P nickel achieved a population of 1 in the highest grade with full steps and no comparable examples known, registry set collectors competing for the number 1 ranking could push bidding to extremes. Registry competition has historically driven modern coins into astonishing price territory when only one coin holds the top certified grade. Combine that with a major error and the narrative becomes even more powerful. Provenance also plays a massive role in extreme valuations. If the coin were discovered in an extraordinary circumstance, such as being found in a sealed mint bag untouched since release, or identified within a hoard connected to a significant historical figure, or authenticated as part of an internal mint era group that was never meant for circulation, the story behind the coin would amplify its mystique and desirability. Collectors do not just buy metal, they buy stories, uniqueness, and prestige, and when a coin becomes widely publicized as the only known example of a dramatic error from a modern year, it can transcend traditional price guides. Speculation can also fuel dramatic valuations. If influential collectors or investors believe a coin represents a milestone discovery or a once-in-a-century opportunity, they may justify enormous bids based on long-term appreciation potential and bragging rights alone. Auctions featuring heated bidding wars often escalate far beyond conservative estimates when two determined buyers refuse to lose. Media coverage, viral attention, and online discussions can magnify perceived rarity and push values to extraordinary heights. In rare cases, coins have achieved record prices because they symbolize something greater than their face value or even their metal content. They become icons within the hobby, representing discovery, persistence, and the thrill of the hunt. Imagine the excitement if a 2003P nickel surface displaying a previously unknown dramatic error combination, such as an off-metal strike on a silver planchet, struck off-center, with bold double die features and full steps detail preserved in gem uncirculated condition, certified by a top grading authority and verified through metallurgical testing as authentic and unique. The convergence of multiple rare attributes could justify unprecedented valuation discussions. Next, 2002 D 5 cent coin. Today we are diving into another jaw-dropping story from the world of pocket change treasures, a story that sounds almost unbelievable yet captures the imagination of collectors everywhere. Because we are talking about the 2002 5 cent coin. A seemingly ordinary Jefferson nickel minted in Denver that under the right extraordinary circumstances could be valued at an astonishing $103 million due to rare minting errors, dramatic production mistakes, and once-in-a-lifetime combinations of anomalies that transform a 5-cent coin into a historic numismatic phenomenon. And if you have ever ignored a nickel in your change, this episode might completely change your perspective, because the difference between 5 cents and generational wealth in the coin world often comes down to microscopic details, rare die varieties, metal composition surprises, and unique mint mishaps that were never meant to leave the facility. The 2002 nickel carries the familiar image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, struck at the Denver Mint as indicated by the small d mint mark, produced in massive quantities for everyday commerce, yet hidden within those millions of coins lies the possibility of extreme rarity. Because while most coins are ordinary, a tiny fraction can escape the mint with dramatic and valuable irregularities. And when multiple rare factors align in one single specimen, the value can escalate beyond anything the average person expects. So let us explore how a 2002 5-cent coin could theoretically command a valuation of $103 million, and what types of errors and unique circumstances would need to exist for such a staggering price to become reality. First, we must understand that coin production is a complex industrial process involving planchet preparation, annealing, cleaning, die creation, die polishing, hubbing, striking under immense pressure, and quality control inspections. And although the United States Mint operates with precision, no industrial process is completely immune to error, especially when producing hundreds of millions of coins. Sometimes mistakes slip through, and those mistakes can create numismatic legends. One of the most dramatic possibilities for a 2002 nickel would be an off-metal strike. This occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, or even on a blank made from an experimental alloy. Imagine a 2002 nickel struck on a silver planchet intended for a dime, or on a copper cent planchet. Instantly the weight, color, and magnetic properties would differ from the standard copper-nickel composition, and if laboratory testing confirmed the anomaly to be genuine and not altered after leaving the mint, such a coin could be unique, and uniqueness is the foundation of extreme value in numismatics. Especially if documentation suggested that the off-metal strike resulted from a transitional moment, when leftover blanks from another production run accidentally entered the nickel striking presses. Transitional errors are among the most coveted because they represent a brief moment in mint history that was never meant to happen. Now consider a double denomination error where the 2002 nickel is struck over an already struck coin of another denomination, such as a quarter or a penny, leaving overlapping design elements visible beneath Jefferson's portrait or around Monticello. These types of errors show unmistakable mint failure and are extremely rare in modern coinage. Collectors prize them because they are dramatic and easily recognizable even to the naked eye, and if only one or two examples surfaced before the error was corrected, the scarcity would amplify its value dramatically. Another extraordinary possibility involves a mule error, one of the rarest and most fascinating mistakes in mint history. A mule occurs when two dies that were never intended to be paired together are accidentally used to strike a coin. Imagine a 2002 nickel with the obverse of Jefferson but paired with a reverse intended for a completely different denomination or commemorative issue. Such a pairing would represent a breakdown in die installation protocols at the mint, and would instantly attract worldwide attention. Mule errors in modern coins have achieved 6- and 7-figure sales in the past. So a completely unique mule involving a Denver minted nickel could theoretically escalate into 8- or even 9-figure territory if intense competition erupted among elite collectors. Die errors provide another pathway toward immense value. A double die obverse or reverse occurs when the die itself receives a misaligned impression during hubbing, causing design elements to appear doubled on every coin struck from that die. While minor doubling is common and often subtle, dramatic Class 1 rotational doubled dies with bold separation in lettering, date, and portrait features can be breathtaking. If a 2002 nickel were discovered with extreme doubling clearly visible on the date, mint mark, inscriptions, and even Jefferson's eye and hair detail. And if that die produced only a handful of coins before being retired, collectors would consider it a landmark variety. The rarity of such a discovery combined with pristine condition could fuel record-breaking bids. And speaking of condition, grade plays a massive role in valuation. Even without errors, modern coins that achieve the absolute highest certified grade with no imperfections can become condition rarities, especially if they are population 1 with none graded higher. In the Jefferson nickel series, the full steps designation on the reverse is highly prized because it indicates complete, uninterrupted detail on the steps of Monticello. If a 2002 D nickel achieved the highest possible mint state grade with full steps and flawless surfaces, and no other coin matched it, registry set collectors competing for top ranking could drive the price into astonishing territory. Now imagine combining a population 1 full steps example with a major mint error such as an off-center strike, multi-strike layering, or wrong planchet composition. The convergence of multiple rare attributes would multiply desirability exponentially. Off-center errors themselves can be valuable when the date and mint mark remain visible. And the more dramatic the off-center percentage, the more visually striking the coin becomes. A 50% off-center strike with full date showing can command strong premiums. But if such a coin were also struck on the wrong metal and preserved in uncirculated condition, the uniqueness could be unparalleled. Multiple strike errors are equally fascinating. When a coin fails to eject properly from the press and receives additional strikes, the resulting piece can show overlapping designs, rotated impressions, and distorted shapes that look almost sculptural. If a 2002 D nickel were struck 3 or 4 times out of collar with clear separation between strikes, and if the surfaces remained lustrous and undamaged, collectors would consider it a masterpiece of mint malfunction. Die breaks and cuts add yet another layer of possibility. While minor die cracks are common and usually minor in value, massive retained die breaks that cover a large portion of the design can be highly collectible. Imagine a huge cut obscuring part of Jefferson's portrait, or a large section of Monticello while the rest of the coin remains sharply detailed. If only a few examples escaped before the die was destroyed, the scarcity could be extreme. And then there is the possibility of a wrong planchet thickness or improperly annealed blank resulting in unusual coloration, brittleness, or striking anomalies. Sometimes improper heat treatment causes planchets to respond differently under pressure, creating distinctive surface textures that set the coin apart from standard issues. While most of these are minor curiosities, a dramatic and unique specimen authenticated by metallurgical experts could become a centerpiece of advanced collections. Provenance also plays a powerful role in driving astronomical valuations. If the 2002 D nickel were discovered in a sealed original mint bag untouched for decades, or traced back to a specific mint employee hoard, or accompanied by documentation proving it originated from an internal error batch never intended for circulation, the narrative would amplify its mystique and desirability. Collectors often pay premiums not just for rarity but for story. And when a coin carries a compelling backstory, its appeal expands beyond metal and design into history and intrigue. The psychology of the marketplace must also be considered. When 2 or more determined collectors believe they are competing for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, bidding wars can escalate beyond rational price guides. Pride, prestige, and the desire to own something no one else possesses can push numbers into previously unimaginable territory. Media attention can further amplify demand, especially in the modern age where viral stories about valuable coins spread rapidly across online platforms. The idea that a simple 2002 D nickel could be worth $103 million would capture headlines worldwide, drawing new collectors into the hobby and increasing competition for the coin. If it were offered publicly at auction, authenticity would be paramount at such a valuation. The coin would undergo rigorous testing including weight verification, precise measurement, die marker comparison to confirm matching diagnostics with known Denver dies from 2002, XRF analysis to confirm metal composition. Next, 2012 D5 cent coin. Today we are exploring another mind-blowing story from the fascinating world of rare pocket change, and this time the spotlight is on the 2012 D5 cent coin, a modern Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint that most people would overlook without a second thought, yet under extraordinary circumstances and with the right combination of minting errors, production mistakes, and unique characteristics, this ordinary-looking coin could reach a staggering valuation of $99 million, a number that sounds impossible for a 5-cent piece but becomes imaginable when you understand how rarity, condition, and demand intersect in the high-stakes arena of elite numismatics. Because in coin collecting it is never about face value, it is about uniqueness, authentication, historical context, and the intense competition among collectors who are willing to pay enormous sums for something that no one else can own. The 2012 D nickel features the modern portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the detailed image of Monticello on the reverse, with the small D mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver. And while millions were produced for circulation, the sheer scale of production does not eliminate the possibility of extraordinary mint errors slipping through quality control. In fact, large production runs sometimes increase the statistical chance of unusual mechanical failures or die anomalies occurring, and when those rare mistakes escape into circulation and survive in high-grade condition, they can become the centerpieces of advanced collections. So let us break down how a 2012 D 5-cent coin could ever justify a hypothetical $99 million valuation, and what specific types of errors and extraordinary scenarios would need to exist to elevate it to that level. One of the most dramatic and valuable categories of mint errors is the off-metal strike. This occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, or even for experimental purposes. Imagine a 2012 D nickel struck on a silver dime planchet, a copper cent blank, or even an unapproved alloy being tested internally by the mint. The immediate differences in weight, diameter, thickness, and color would set the coin apart from every standard nickel. And if laboratory analysis confirmed that the metal composition did not match the official copper-nickel blend used for nickels, collectors would recognize it as an extraordinary minting anomaly, transitional. Metal errors are especially intriguing when they occur during periods of metal cost fluctuations or internal experimentation. And while 2012 was not officially a transition year for nickel composition, internal testing and leftover planchets from other production lines could theoretically create a rare off-metal strike. If such a coin were unique and preserved in flawless uncirculated condition, it could instantly become a one-of-a-kind treasure. Another powerful value driver would be a double denomination error, which happens when a coin is struck over another coin that already carries a different design, resulting in overlapping details from two denominations visible on one piece. Imagine a 2012 D nickel struck over a quarter or a cent, leaving faint but undeniable traces of Washington's profile or Lincoln's memorial beneath Jefferson's portrait. Such dramatic mint failures are exceedingly rare in modern coinage because of strict mint controls, so if a genuine example surfaced and was authenticated by top experts, it would command worldwide attention and fierce bidding. Then we must consider mule errors. Among the rarest and most sensational mistakes in the history of coinage, a mule occurs when two dies that were never intended to be paired together are mistakenly installed in the press, creating a coin with mismatched obverse and reverse designs. Imagine a 2012 D nickel struck with the obverse die of a different denomination, or perhaps even a commemorative reverse. Never meant for circulation, such a coin would represent a breakdown at the die installation stage and would likely be unique. Mule coins from modern mints have achieved extraordinary auction prices in the past, and a completely unique mule involving a Denver-struck nickel could theoretically justify sky-high valuations if competitive collectors perceived it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Die-related errors offer another pathway toward massive value. A doubled die occurs when the die receives multiple misaligned impressions during the hubbing process, resulting in noticeable doubling on the final coin. While minor machine doubling is common and typically adds little value, a true hub doubled die with bold, clear separation visible in the date, lettering, and portrait details can be spectacular. If a 2012 D nickel were discovered with extreme doubling visible on Jefferson's eye, the inscriptions, and Monticello's architectural lines, and if only a handful were produced before the die was retired, collectors would regard it as a landmark modern variety, especially if examples were found in pristine mint state condition. And speaking of condition, grade is a crucial component in reaching extreme valuations. Modern coins can achieve extraordinary prices when they represent the highest graded example known, particularly if they are population 1 with none graded higher by major third-party grading services. For Jefferson nickels, the full steps designation on the reverse is highly sought after because it indicates complete and uninterrupted detail on the steps of Monticello. Achieving full steps in combination with a top-tier mint state grade is challenging, so if a 2012 D nickel were certified at the absolute highest grade with perfect luster, no contact marks, razor-sharp strike, and full steps, and if it were the only coin at that level, registry set collectors competing for the number 1 position could push bidding to astonishing heights. Now, imagine that same coin also exhibiting a dramatic mint error such as a significant off-center strike while retaining full date and mint mark visibility. The combination of error rarity and condition rarity would multiply its desirability exponentially. Multi-strike errors also hold immense fascination. When a coin fails to eject from the striking chamber properly and receives additional strikes, the result can be layered impressions, rotated designs, and unusual shapes. A 2012 D nickel struck 3 times out of collar with clear separation between strikes and minimal post-strike damage would be visually stunning and highly collectible. Die breaks and cuts add another dimension to potential value. While small die cracks are common and usually minor, a massive retained cut that obscures a significant portion of the design can be rare and dramatic. Imagine a large die break covering part of Jefferson's portrait or a section of Monticello, while the rest of the coin remains sharply detailed. If only a few such pieces escaped before the die was replaced, the scarcity could be extreme. Improper annealing errors could also contribute to uniqueness. If a planchet was not heated correctly before striking, it might respond differently under pressure, producing unusual surface textures or incomplete design transfer, though many such coins are considered minor errors. A dramatic and unique specimen authenticated as a genuine mint anomaly could command significant interest. Provenance can further amplify value. If the 2012 D nickel were discovered in an original sealed mint bag untouched since 2012, or traced back to a specific mint employee batch, or accompanied by credible documentation linking it to an internal mint event, the narrative would enhance its mystique. Collectors often pay premiums for coins with compelling stories because ownership becomes not just about rarity but about possessing a piece of history. The psychology of elite collecting also plays a major role in extreme valuations. When two determined buyers believe they are competing for something irreplaceable, pride and prestige can drive bidding far beyond conventional price guides. In high-profile auctions, intense rivalry has historically pushed rare coins into record-breaking territory. Media attention can amplify this effect, especially in the modern era where stories about valuable pocket change spread rapidly across social platforms. The idea that a 2012 D nickel could be worth $99 million would capture global headlines, drawing new collectors into the hobby and increasing competition for ownership. Authenticity at such valuation levels would require exhaustive testing, including precise weight measurement, diameter verification, die marker analysis to match known 2012 D dies, metallurgical composition testing using advanced equipment, and microscopic examination for evidence of alteration or fabrication. Only with airtight authentication could serious buyers consider committing 9-figure bids. The coin would likely be encapsulated and certified by a leading grading authority, adding another layer of confidence and legitimacy. It is also important to consider that many legendary coins achieved extraordinary prices because they were the only known examples of their kind. Uniqueness is the ultimate value driver. If the 2012 5 cent coin represented the sole surviving example of a dramatic and previously undocumented mint error, its symbolic significance could elevate it beyond typical market comparisons. Collectors at the highest level often seek trophy coins, pieces that define a series or represent a milestone discovery. And if this nickel achieved that status, it could transcend traditional pricing models. The broader growth of error collecting over the past decade also contributes to such possibilities. Enthusiasts actively search rolls of nickels and examine pocket change for anomalies, fueled by stories of rare finds. And, while most discoveries are minor, last 2015 5 cent coin. Today we are uncovering another astonishing story from the world of modern coin collecting, and this time the spotlight shines on the 2015 P5 cent coin, a Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint that most people would casually spend without a second glance, yet under the most extraordinary circumstances and with the right combination of minting errors, production mishaps, rare die varieties, and pristine preservation, this seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece could reach an unbelievable valuation of $96 million, a number that sounds impossible for a modern circulating coin but becomes far more understandable when you dive deep into how rarity, condition, uniqueness, provenance, and collector psychology interact at the highest levels of numismatics. Because in this hobby, face value means nothing when compared to the power of a one-of-a-kind error. And history has repeatedly shown that when something unique emerges from the mint by accident and survives in exceptional condition, it can ignite bidding wars that shatter expectations. The 2015 P nickel features the modern forward-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the detailed rendering of Monticello on the reverse, bearing the P mint mark of Philadelphia. And while millions upon millions were produced for circulation across the United States, the sheer scale of production does not eliminate the possibility of rare anomalies occurring within the minting process. In fact, with high speed presses striking coins at incredible rates, even a brief malfunction or misalignment can create a handful of extraordinary pieces before being detected and corrected. And when those few coins escape quality control, they become potential treasures waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed collectors. So let us break down the types of errors and remarkable scenarios that could elevate a 2015 P5-cent coin into the realm of $96 million, beginning with one of the most dramatic categories of mint errors known as the off-metal strike. This occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or composed of an experimental alloy not officially used for that coin. Imagine a 2015 P nickel struck on a silver dime planchet, resulting in a smaller diameter but bearing the nickel design. Or perhaps struck on a copper cent blank, creating a noticeable color difference and lighter weight. Such a coin would instantly stand out from normal examples, and if confirmed through metallurgical testing as a genuine mint error rather than post-mint alteration, it could be considered unique. Off-metal errors are rare in modern coinage due to strict blank segregation protocols, so a verified specimen would command global attention. Now imagine that this off-metal strike was not only unique but also preserved in flawless mint state condition with blazing luster and no contact marks. The convergence of uniqueness and perfect preservation would drastically amplify its appeal to elite collectors. Another powerful possibility lies in double denomination errors, which occur when a coin is struck over an already struck coin of a different denomination, resulting in overlapping designs from two coins on a single piece. Picture a 2015 P nickel struck over a quarter or cent, leaving visible traces of Washington's profile or Lincoln's memorial beneath Jefferson's portrait. These dramatic minting accidents are visually striking and extremely scarce in modern issues, and if such a coin were authenticated as genuine and documented as the only known example, it could instantly become a centerpiece of modern error collecting. Mule errors represent yet another pathway toward extraordinary value. A mule occurs when two dies that were never intended to be paired are mistakenly installed in the press, creating a coin with mismatched obverse and reverse designs. Imagine a 2015 P nickel paired with a reverse die from another denomination or a commemorative issue not meant for circulation. Such a pairing would indicate a serious breakdown in die installation procedures and would likely produce only a handful of coins before discovery. Mule coins from recent decades have achieved remarkable auction results, and a completely unique mule involving a modern nickel could theoretically command staggering sums if two determined collectors believed it to be irreplaceable. Die-related anomalies also play a crucial role in extreme valuations. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process when the die receives a misaligned second impression, creating noticeable doubling on all coins struck from that die. While minor machine doubling is common and typically adds little value, a true hub doubled die with bold separation in the date, inscriptions, and portrait features can be spectacular. If a 2015 P nickel displayed extreme doubling visible without magnification across Jefferson's features and the lettering, and if only a very small number were produced before the die was retired, collectors would recognize it as a landmark variety within the series, especially if examples were discovered in pristine mint state condition. condition rarity itself is a major factor in pushing modern coins into extraordinary price territory. Grading services evaluate coins on a scale that rewards flawless surfaces, sharp strike, and full luster. And in the Jefferson nickel series, the full steps designation on the reverse is particularly important because it confirms complete and uninterrupted detail on the steps of Monticello. Achieving full steps can be difficult due to strike pressure variations and die wear, so if a 2015 P nickel were certified at the absolute highest mint state grade with full steps and no imperfections, and if it were the sole example at that level with none graded higher, registry set collectors competing for the top ranking could drive bidding to unprecedented heights. Now imagine that same population. One specimen also exhibiting a dramatic mint error, such as a significant off-center strike while retaining full date and mint mark visibility. The rarity would multiply exponentially because collectors of both high-grade nickels and dramatic error coins would compete for the same piece. Multi-strike errors offer another exciting possibility. When a coin fails to eject properly and receives additional strikes, the result can be layered images, rotated impressions, and distorted shapes. A 2015 P nickel struck 3 or 4 times out of collar with clear separation between strikes and minimal surface damage would be visually extraordinary and highly sought after. Die breaks and cuts also deserve attention, while minor die cracks are common and often carry little premium. A massive retained die break covering a significant portion of the design can create a dramatic appearance, and if only a few coins were struck before the die was replaced, the rarity could be extreme. Improper annealing errors could further enhance uniqueness. If a planchet was not heated correctly before striking, it might exhibit unusual coloration or incomplete metal flow, resulting in distinctive textures. Though many such pieces are minor curiosities, a dramatic example authenticated as a genuine mint anomaly could attract serious interest. Provenance adds another powerful layer to valuation. If the 2015 P nickel were discovered in an original sealed Federal Reserve bag untouched since release or traced back to a documented mint anomaly event, the story behind the coin would amplify its desirability. Collectors often pay premiums for coins with compelling backstories because ownership becomes intertwined with narrative and history. The psychology of elite collecting cannot be overlooked. When wealthy collectors compete for a once-in-a-lifetime piece, pride and prestige often outweigh conservative market estimates. High-profile auctions have demonstrated that determined bidding can escalate values far beyond expectations. Media attention can magnify this effect, especially in an era where stories about rare coins circulate instantly online. The idea that a 2015 P5 cent coin could be worth $96 million would capture headlines worldwide and attract intense interest from investors and hobbyists alike. Authenticity would be absolutely critical at such valuation levels. The coin would undergo exhaustive testing, including precise weight measurement, diameter verification, die marker comparison with known 2015 P dies, advanced metallurgical analysis to confirm composition, and microscopic examination for signs of alteration or fabrication. Certification by a leading third-party grading service would be essential to establish credibility. Only with airtight documentation could serious buyers consider 9-figure offers. It is important to remember that many legendary coins achieved extraordinary prices because they were unique and symbolized something greater than their metal content. If the 2015 P nickel represented the only known example of a dramatic mint error combination previously undocumented, its symbolic significance could elevate it beyond typical pricing models. Collectors at the highest level seek trophy coins that define a series and become reference points in numismatic history. If this nickel achieved that status, it could transcend ordinary market comparisons. The growing popularity of error coin collecting also contributes to such possibilities. Enthusiasts carefully examine rolls and pocket change, searching for anomalies, fueled by stories of life-changing discoveries. While most finds are modest, the dream of uncovering something extraordinary keeps the hobby vibrant. The legend of a 2015 P5 cent coin valued at $96 million serves as a reminder to inspect coins carefully. Look for unusual weight differences, misaligned strikes, doubling, cracks, missing elements, off-metal coloration, or anything that deviates from normal appearance. Educat.